Every relationship comes with its challenges. And today, we're sharing a true story that puts love, trust, and practicality to the ultimate test. This is the story of Alex and Sophia, a millionaire and his fiancée, whose relationship faces a major turning point when Alex insists on a prenuptial agreement. Alex is a hardworking entrepreneur who spent years building his business empire from scratch. To him, a prenup is a way to protect what he's worked so hard to achieve. Sophia is a passionate and caring woman who believes that love should come with unconditional trust. For her, the prenup feels like an insult to their commitment. As their emotions clash, Alex and Sophia must navigate the delicate balance between protecting a financial legacy and nurturing their love for one another. Will Alex and Sophia find common ground, or will their love be overshadowed by their differences? Watch the story unfold and witness the delicate balance between trust, love, and financial protection. Don't forget to share this story with your loved ones and subscribe to the channel for more. The room was bathed in the soft, golden glow of candlelight. The faint hum of a violinist playing in the corner added to the air of romance as Alex and Sophia sat at an intimate corner table in an upscale restaurant. The city skyline glittered through the floor-to-ceiling windows behind them, the perfect backdrop to what seemed like a perfect evening. Alex, dressed impeccably in a tailored suit, reached across the table to take Sophia's hand. "You look stunning tonight," he said with a warm smile. His deep voice carried an unusual edge, a faint crack in his usual confidence that Sophia couldn't quite place. Sophia, radiant in a flowing crimson dress, beamed at him. "And you've outdone yourself again." "This is beautiful, Alex." As their dinner arrived, artfully plated courses that screamed elegance, Sophia noticed Alex's hesitation. He was a man of certainty, always composed, but tonight he seemed uneasy. She brushed it off at first, assuming it was work-related. When dessert was served, a delicate soufflé with golden sugar threads, Alex cleared his throat. "Sophia," he began, his tone soft yet deliberate. "There's something important I need to talk to you about." Sophia leaned in, her curiosity piqued. "What is it?" He paused, choosing his words carefully. "You know how much I love you. I've never been more certain about wanting to spend my life with someone. But before we get married, I think it's wise that we discuss a prenuptial agreement." Sophia froze. The warmth of the evening seemed to drain away, replaced by a sudden chill. "A prenup?" she repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. Alex nodded, his gaze steady but vulnerable. "I've built my businesses over many years. I just want to ensure they're protected, no matter what happens." Her expression shifted from confusion to hurt. "No matter what happens? Are you already planning for our marriage to fail?" The music seemed to fade into the background as tension filled the air. Sophia's hand slipped from his, her eyes searching his face for reassurance. "I thought we were building a life together, Alex. How could you think I'd ever?" "It's not about distrust," he interjected quickly, his voice firm yet pleading. "It's about security for both of us." Sophia's lips trembled as tears welled in her eyes. "I thought you believed in us, Alex. But it feels like you're preparing for an ending before we've even begun." The night that had started with the promise of romance now hung heavy with doubt and tension. Alex reached for her hand again, but she pulled away, leaving him to wonder if he'd just made the biggest mistake of his life. The soft glow of candlelight flickered across Sophia's tear-streaked face as she stood in the middle of their opulent living room, her voice trembling with a mixture of anger and pain. "You don't trust me, Alex," she said, her words cutting through the silence like a blade. "After everything, you still think I'm here for your money?" Alex sat frozen, the prenup papers still on the table between them, like a silent referee in this emotional duel. "Sophia, it's not about trust," he began cautiously, his voice calm but tinged with desperation. "It's about being practical. My business is—" "Practical?" she interrupted, her voice rising. "You think it's practical to insult me, to question my love for you?" Do you think I've endured everything just to walk away with your money? Her words hung heavy in the air. Alex frowned, confused. Endured? What are you talking about? Sophia's voice cracked as she recounted the sacrifices she had made. Leaving her job, moving to a new city to be with him, cutting ties with friends who doubted their relationship. I gave up everything for you, Alex. And now you sit there and tell me you're preparing for a divorce before we've even started our life together. Her sobs filled the room, but Alex remained rooted in his seat, his jaw tight. He reached out to console her, but she stepped back, her eyes blazing. Why, Alex? Why are you even marrying me if you think this will fail? The room seemed to shrink around them, the tension almost palpable. Alex's mind raced as he searched for the right words to explain his fears without pushing her further away. But nothing came. Sophia turned her back to him, her voice barely above a whisper. Maybe you don't love me as much as I thought you did. Alex felt the weight of her words pressing down on him. He knew he had to say something, anything, to stop her from walking away. But for the first time in years, the confident, self-assured businessman was utterly lost for words. The tension from the dinner conversation still lingers in Alex's mind as he sits in his sleek office, staring at the cold, sterile walls of his empire. His fingers drum nervously on the edge of his desk. The decision feels more daunting by the minute. He had always been a man who relied on logic, but when it came to Sophia, emotions clouded his judgment. In the dim light of the office, his phone buzzes. It's a message from his lawyer, Mark, the one person he trusts to guide him through the legal maze. Alex takes a deep breath and dials Mark's number, praying the conversation will bring clarity. Mark's voice on the other end is firm, reassuring. Alex, you know I've always had your back, but you can't ignore the risk here. Your business, your assets, everything you've built is on the line. A prenup is more than just a safety net. It's a shield. If this thing doesn't work out, you'll be left exposed. The lawyer's words are sharp and pragmatic, like the cutting edge of a blade. Alex shifts uncomfortably in his chair, tapping his pen against his desk. I get it, Mark, but what if she sees this as a betrayal? What if she thinks I'm already planning for a divorce? I can't shake the feeling that something's going to break between us. There's a pause. Mark sighs. Listen, Alex, you've worked your whole life to build this. She wasn't there for the struggle, for the sleepless nights and the setbacks. You owe it to yourself to protect what's yours. The words hit like a punch to the gut, but the unease doesn't fade. He knows Mark's right, yet a growing knot tightens in his chest. The legal counsel is solid, but the emotional weight of Sophia's reaction, the tears, the accusations of mistrust, haunts him. Suddenly, the door swings open, and Alex's best friend, Chris, enters without knocking. He's a laid-back guy with a mischievous grin and a knack for lightening any situation. But today, there's no joking in his demeanor. Still trying to figure out how to play this, huh? Chris asks, leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed. Man, I know you, and I know what's at stake. But don't let your heart override your brain on this one. Alex runs his hand through his hair. I don't know, Chris. I never thought this would be so complicated. She made it feel like I'm the villain in this. What if I'm wrong? Chris pushes off from the door and walks toward the desk, his eyes steady. You're not wrong, Alex. You've been careful all your life. Just be careful now, too. If she loves you, she'll understand. If she doesn't, then maybe she's not the one. The words hit like a hammer, echoing in the room, leaving Alex frozen in thought. The weight of his decision bears down on him harder than before. He's standing on the edge, uncertain whether to leap into the abyss or pull back from the edge. His mind races. Could he live with the fallout if he didn't protect his future? Could he trust Sophia enough to let his guard down? As the clock ticks on, the future feels impossibly unclear. Sophia's heart raced as she walked into the cozy corner cafe, her favorite refuge when life felt overwhelming. The rain tapped insistently on the windows, mirroring the storm swirling inside her. she spotted her closest friend, Rachel, seated by the fireplace, a warm smile quickly fading as she noticed Sophia's tear-streaked face. "What happened?" Rachel asked, her tone urgent as Sophia slumped into the chair across from her. Sophia hesitated, the words caught in her throat. But the dam finally broke. "He wants a prenup, Rachel," she blurted, her voice trembling. "Alex thinks I'll leave him someday and take everything he's worked for. Is that how little he trusts me?" Rachel's eyes widened, the silence heavy between them as she processed Sophia's words. "Soph, I'm so sorry," she said softly, reaching out to hold her friend's hand. "But maybe he doesn't mean it like that. Maybe it's not about you." Sophia flinched, the words cutting deeper than she expected. "Not about me? Then what is it about? He's already planning for our marriage to fail." Her voice cracked, drawing the attention of nearby patrons. Rachel leaned in, lowering her voice. "Listen, I get it. This hurts, and it feels personal. But think about it, Alex built his empire before you two met. Maybe he's scared. Maybe he's just trying to protect what he's worked so hard for." Sophia's face hardened, a mix of anger and confusion flashing in her eyes. "So, you're saying I should agree? Sign it and prove I'm not after his money." Rachel hesitated, her expression conflicted. "I'm saying maybe you need to have a real conversation with him. One where you both lay everything on the table." "But Soph," she paused, lowering her voice further. "Be careful. Make sure this isn't a sign of something deeper, a lack of faith in you in this relationship. Don't ignore your instincts." Sophia stared into the flickering flames of the fireplace, the warmth unable to thaw the chill creeping into her heart. A knot of doubt tightened in her chest. Could she trust Alex? Or worse, could Alex ever truly trust her? The cafe felt suffocating now, the once comforting space now a prison of uncertainty. I don't know what to do, Rachel," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the rain's relentless patter. Rachel squeezed her hand. "You'll figure it out, sophomore. But you need to find out where his heart truly lies and decide if you're willing to fight for this." Sophia nodded, her mind a tangle of questions and fears. The air around them felt electric with tension, as if the next move she made could change everything. The dimly lit office buzzed with a faint hum of fluorescent lights. Alex sat across from his lawyer, Mr. Gregory, a seasoned man with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. On the desk between them lay a pristine folder, its contents a ticking time bomb for Alex's relationship. "Alex," Gregory began, sliding the draft of the prenuptial agreement toward him. "I know this isn't easy, but you've worked too hard for too long to let emotions cloud your judgment." Alex hesitated before picking up the document. As he flipped through the pages, the room seemed to fade away, replaced by vivid memories of his past. He was 22 again, drenched in sweat, hauling crates in a warehouse while dreaming of something bigger. The nights of ramen noodles and unpaid electricity bills played before his eyes like a haunting film reel. He recalled the betrayal of a former business partner, a man he once trusted but who nearly bankrupted him with a shady deal. The scene shifted to Alex, sitting in his cramped apartment, hunched over a second-hand laptop, typing out the first business plan that would eventually become his multi-million-dollar empire. His chest tightened as he remembered the nights he worked until dawn, the sacrifices he made, friends lost, relationships ruined, and the gnawing loneliness that came with success. The lawyer's voice cut through his thoughts. "This isn't about mistrust," Gregory said firmly. "It's about protecting the life you've built." Alex's grip tightened on the folder. He knew Gregory was right, but the document in his hands felt like more than just a legal safeguard. It felt like a wedge that could drive Sophia away. As doubt crept in, Alex realized the stakes were higher than ever. Could he protect his empire without losing the woman he loved? Sophia stormed into the living room, her eyes red from the tears she had been fighting to hold back. The moment she stepped into the room, Alex could feel the shift in the air, the tension thick, suffocating. She stood in front of him, her voice trembling but sharp. "So, this is what it's all about?" she asked, her words cutting through the silence like a knife. "You don't trust me, do you?" Alex froze, taken aback by the raw emotion in her voice. "Sophia, I'm not saying that." "Yes, you are," she interrupted, her voice rising. "You're planning for a divorce before we've even gotten married. You're already thinking about ending this. And that's not love, Alex. That's fear. You don't love me." He could feel the heat of her anger, the pain behind her words. It was a gut-wrenching punch, each accusation twisting his insides. His mind raced, desperate to find the right words, but nothing seemed to break through her rage. The prenup wasn't about her. It wasn't about trust. It was about protecting everything he had built. But how could he say that without sounding like he didn't care for her? "Sophia, please," Alex pleaded, his voice a mix of exhaustion and frustration. "This isn't about you. It's about my businesses, everything I've worked for. I can't just let it all go if something happens. It's not that I don't trust you. It's that I can't risk losing everything. I built this life before you came into it." Her eyes widened, disbelief flashing across her face. "So, you think I'm just here for your money? Is that it?" The word stung, and he felt the walls closing in. "No," he shouted, stepping closer, his hands held out in a gesture of peace. "It's not about that. It's about what if things don't work out. I'm trying to protect us both, protect everything we've worked for, and you're turning it into something it's not." Sophia stepped back, shaking her head slowly, tears beginning to form again. "You're already thinking about a future without me? It's like you're planning my exit before we even begin." Her voice cracked, each word a dagger, piercing the fragile connection they had left. "Maybe I'm not the one you want, Alex. Maybe I'm just a risk you're not willing to take." The room grew colder, and Alex could feel the distance between them widening with every word. The stakes had never been higher, but in his heart, he knew, no matter how much he tried to explain, no matter how logical his reasoning, the emotional weight was too much to overcome in a single conversation. He had tried to protect her. He had tried to protect them. But now, all he saw in her eyes was doubt. The walls were up, and he couldn't see a way through. The silence stretched between them, thick and suffocating, until it felt like the whole house was holding its breath. The evening was supposed to be a warm family gathering, an opportunity for Alex and Sophia to enjoy time with loved ones and forget the weight of their ongoing tension. The dinner table was set in the cozy dining room, candles flickering, and the clink of silverware filled the air. But beneath the surface, something far more unsettling simmered. As the conversation flowed around the table, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that the eyes of Sophia's family were on him, calculating, scrutinizing. Sophia sat beside him, her body stiff, her forced smile betraying her inner turmoil. She had tried to hide it, but the cracks in their relationship were growing wider. She could feel the disapproving stares from her parents and relatives, the subtle disquiet hanging in the air. Sophia's father, a successful businessman himself, leaned back in his chair, his voice smooth but edged with judgment. "You know, Alex," he began, glancing at his wife before turning back to him, "I've always believed that marriage is built on trust and unity, not contracts. A prenup feels more like you're planning for failure rather than commitment." His tone was calm, but there was an unmistakable weight behind his words. Sophia's mother, a gentle but firm woman, joined in. "It's hard to understand why someone would need protection against their own partner, especially when you claim to love them." She paused, looking pointedly at Sophia, her expression filled with quiet concern. "It makes me wonder if Alex truly sees you as an equal, as someone who is worthy of his full trust." The words hit like a slap, and Sophia's heart sank. She had never fully realized how deeply her parents' opinions could influence her decisions. The tension between her and Alex was becoming palpable, and in that moment, she felt torn between the two worlds she loved. Was her father's logic right? Was Alex trying to build walls around their relationship with his demand for a prenup? Or was she simply overthinking it, letting her emotions cloud her judgment? As her parents continued their disapproval, Sophia's thoughts spiraled. She began to question everything: Alex's motives, their love, the very foundation of their future together. Each question hung in the air, heavier than the meal in front of them. The scene built to a sharp, uncomfortable silence. Everyone at the table seemed to pause, waiting for Sophia's reaction, her answer. Alex's eyes flickered nervously between Sophia and her parents, sensing the storm brewing but unsure of how to weather it. Sophia, on the edge of breaking, forced a smile but felt the weight of the moment crush her. She was caught between her past, represented by her family's ideals, and her future with Alex, one that now felt uncertain. As the night stretched on, the tension remained unspoken but unmistakable. Sophia's internal conflict was only deepening, and Alex, helpless in the face of the mounting pressure, could feel the distance between them growing. Would they ever bridge this gap? Or was the prenup the final wedge between them? The scene ended with the ominous feeling that the night was only the beginning of an irreversible change. The true battle wasn't between love and money. It was about trust, control, and what the future held for them both. Alex sat across from his mentor, Henry, a seasoned businessman and family patriarch, in the quiet, dimly lit study of his mansion. The room, filled with antique bookshelves and old portraits, seemed like a place where time stood still. But tonight, time felt as though it were slipping through Alex's fingers, his mind heavy with doubt and the growing tension in his relationship with Sophia. He leaned forward, his voice barely a whisper. "Henry, I don't know what to do. Every time I try to explain the prenup to her, it's like I'm the villain. I built everything from the ground up, and I can't just throw it all away, but it feels like I'm losing her, too." Henry, a man whose weathered face showed the signs of decades spent navigating both business and family dynamics, regarded him with a mixture of understanding and caution. He paused before speaking, his eyes narrowing as if weighing every word. "Alex," he began, his tone steady but firm, "I've been in your shoes. I built my empire, too, and I learned the hard way that love and money, they don't always mix in the way we want them to. But you have to ask yourself, what are you really protecting? Is it your wealth? Or is it your heart?" Alex flinched. He hadn't expected this. The question lingered in the air like a storm cloud. Henry's eyes bored into him, and for a moment, the silence was deafening. Henry continued, "You can't put a price on love, son. But sometimes love itself requires protection. Sophia, just like you, has her own fears. She's afraid you'll choose your business over her. She's not questioning your wealth. She's questioning whether you'll stand by her when it matters most." The words cut deeper than Alex anticipated. In the quiet room, the weight of his mentor's wisdom settled over him. It was true. He had been so focused on safeguarding his financial future that he hadn't stopped to consider what was at stake in his personal life. Henry leaned back, his voice dropping to a low, almost conspiratorial tone. "Here's the thing, Alex. You can have both, but you need to be willing to show her that your heart isn't for sale. Trust isn't something you can sign on paper. It's something you have to prove every single day." As the words sank in, a chilling realization gripped Alex. He had been treating Sophia's fears like a business transaction, thinking he could secure her with logic. But love, he now understood, didn't fit neatly into contracts. It required something far more fragile and real: vulnerability. Henry's final words echoed in Alex's mind as he left the study. "You're facing a test, Alex. Not just of your wealth, but of your willingness to give her your heart, unguarded. If you pass it, you'll gain everything. But if you fail..." The night air felt colder as Alex drove home. The conversation played over and over in his head. He thought he was protecting his empire. Now, he wasn't so sure. Would he risk it all for the chance to save his relationship, or was the cost of trust too high? As the evening shadows lengthen and the silence in the house grows thick, Sophia sits alone in front of the mirror. The dim light from the bedside lamp casts long, wavering shadows over her face. Her eyes, puffy and red from hours of crying, reflect the turmoil she's been hiding, the pain she's too afraid to confront. The question that has haunted her for days now swirls in her mind. Why am I really fighting this? Sophia wraps her arms around herself as she stares at her reflection, almost as though trying to hold her fragile heart together. She's been fiercely opposed to the idea of a prenup, but the more she thinks about it, the less certain she is of the reasons why. Is it truly about trust, or is there something else, something deeper at play? Her thoughts flash back to the heated argument with Alex earlier that day. She remembers how his voice quivered with emotion when he explained his fears. He didn't want to lose everything. But was that really his only reason? Or was there more lurking beneath the surface? The weight of his words crushes her chest. If you divorce me next year, what's fair about that? She recalls how his face hardened when she accused him of preparing for failure before even saying, "I do." She feels betrayed, but why? As she drifts deeper into thought, images from her childhood creep into her mind. Her father's infidelity, the long hours her mother spent crying in a corner, the slow unraveling of their once perfect marriage. The distrust that was sown in her heart all those years ago begins to sprout in the soil of this present conflict. Could this be her way of protecting herself from the same pain she witnessed growing up? Or is she too proud to accept that maybe, just maybe, Alex's fears are justified? Suddenly, a shiver runs down her spine. She begins to see her opposition for what it truly is, an unwillingness to accept vulnerability, to confront the possibility that love, true love, might not be enough to guard against all the risks life can throw at them. Could it be that her resistance is driven by the very thing she thought she had control over? Her own pride? Her chest tightens as the realization hits her. She might have been sabotaging the one thing she truly wanted, all for fear of what the future might bring. Just then, the phone on her nightstand buzzes, breaking the silence. It's a message from Alex. "We need to talk. I love you, and I need you to understand why this matters." Her heart races as she looks at the screen. She knows this conversation will change everything. The tension is unbearable, but something shifts within her. She realizes that the truth is more complicated than she could have ever imagined, and the path ahead may not be as clear-cut as she once thought. The suspense builds as Sophia stands up, wiping away a tear. She's about to face the truth. The room was quiet, the tension palpable. It had been days since their last argument, and the air between Alex and Sophia had become thick with unspoken words. Sophia stood by the window, looking out into the night, her back to him. Alex sat at the edge of the bed, his hands tightly gripping the edge, his heart pounding in his chest. He had avoided this conversation for so long, too afraid of what it might mean for them. But tonight, he could feel the weight of it pressing on him. He couldn't keep hiding behind the walls of logic and practicality. "Sophia," Alex began, his voice tentative, "I need you to listen to me. I want to be clear. The prenup isn't because I don't trust you. It's because I'm scared." Sophia turned, her eyes filled with disbelief. "Scared? Scared of what, Alex?" she demanded. "That I'll take everything from you? That I'll betray you?" Alex swallowed hard, the words choking in his throat. The silence between them was deafening. He could feel the heaviness of his past, the countless hours of sacrifice, the sleepless nights spent building his business. His empire was everything to him, his success, his hard work, and he feared that if something happened to their relationship, it could all slip away in an instant. "Yes, I'm scared," he said, his voice quieter now. "I've built something that's mine, something that I earned, and I'm terrified that if this doesn't work out, I'll lose everything. My business, my legacy, all of it. I can't risk that. I need to know that if the worst happens, I'll still have what I've worked for." Sophia's face softened, but her heart still felt heavy with confusion and hurt. "But Alex," she whispered, "isn't love supposed to be enough? If you really love me, Why can't that be enough for you? Alex stood, walking toward her. There was a vulnerability in his eyes now, a rawness that she had never seen before. Love is supposed to be enough, he said, his voice breaking slightly. But it's not the love I'm worried about. It's everything else. The business, the money, the life I built alone. I'm not afraid of you. I'm afraid of losing me. Sophia's eyes began to tear up. The weight of his words hit her like a punch to the gut. She realized then that this wasn't just about money. It was about everything Alex had sacrificed to get where he was. His fear wasn't about her. It was about his sense of self, his identity. I don't want to lose you, Alex, she whispered, her voice trembling. But I don't want you to lose yourself, either. For a moment, the room was still. Then, Alex stepped forward, his hands gently reaching for hers. They both stood in the quiet, understanding that this conversation, this raw exchange of fears and vulnerabilities, was the turning point. Neither of them had all the answers, but in that moment, they realized the importance of trust, not just in each other, but in the process of finding a way forward together. The prenup could be a part of their journey, but it would never define it. And maybe, just maybe, they could find a way to protect both their love and their futures. But they knew one thing for sure. The true test wasn't in the contract. It was in their willingness to face their fears together. The tension between Alex and Sophia had been building for days, each moment dripping with unspoken words and lingering doubts. The house felt like a battleground, yet in the quietest of moments, they both knew the stakes were higher than their emotions could fully comprehend. After their explosive argument the night before, Alex sat in the dimly lit living room, waiting for Sophia to return from her walk. He could feel the weight of the conversation that loomed ahead, the words that would either tear them apart or begin the healing process. Sophia returned, her face a mix of exhaustion and clarity. The night air had cooled her heated mind. She wasn't sure if she was ready to forgive him for the words he had said, or if she was ready to accept that trust alone couldn't anchor a relationship. But the thought of losing him completely, that stung more than she could bear. "Let's talk," Alex said, his voice softer than it had been in days. It was no longer an ultimatum, but a fragile truce, one they had to rebuild together. Sophia hesitated for a moment. Was it possible to trust him fully and still protect herself? It had felt like a betrayal, but now something had shifted. Maybe there was a way forward. She didn't want to lose everything she had built, either. Her career, her future, her independence. But she needed him to see her as an equal, not a liability. "I've been thinking," she began, her voice tentative. "Maybe we can meet halfway. If we bring in a mediator, someone neutral who can help us create something that works for both of us, then maybe this can work." Alex looked at her, disbelief crossing his face. "You're willing to compromise?" Sophia's lips tightened into a thin line, her eyes locking onto his with a quiet determination. "I don't want to feel like I'm fighting for a place in your life. But I also want fairness. If we're going to build a future, we need to be able to trust each other. No one else can do that for us." The tension crackled in the air as Alex processed her words. Could this work? Could the fragile bridge they were constructing hold them together long enough to find a solution? They agreed to bring in a seasoned mediator, a neutral third party with the experience to craft an agreement that would protect both Alex's business legacy and Sophia's interests. A pact, forged in the fires of their disagreements, would be written out on paper. But more importantly, the foundation of their relationship would be tested in ways they couldn't have predicted. Hours later, in the presence of the mediator, they began drafting the prenup. With each clause, Alex and Sophia came to realize the balance between protection and trust wasn't an impossible dream. They had found their way back from the edge. What was once a division between them now began to look like a partnership, equal in its compromise and in its commitment. The questions hung in the air. Was this truly the end of the story? Or would new challenges arise, testing the fragile balance they had just established? One thing was clear. The future, while uncertain, would be a shared journey, one they would face together. The grand hall buzzed with excitement, but beneath the shimmering decorations and flowing gowns, an invisible tension loomed over the couple. Alex stood at the altar, his palms sweaty, his heart racing, even though it was meant to be the happiest day of his life. Sophia, standing at the opposite end, was stunning in her wedding dress, but her face was a mask of uncertainty. The vows were the moment everyone had been waiting for, but Alex couldn't shake the feeling that something was still off. He stole a glance at the legal papers on the table, the prenup, ready to be signed after the ceremony. It had caused so much turmoil between them, yet here it was, hanging between their futures. As the officiant spoke the first words, Alex's mind raced back to all the arguments, the silent treatments, the tear-filled nights. Could he truly marry her after everything? Could he trust her? Or was the prenup just a formality, his way of protecting himself from potential heartbreak? Sophia stepped forward, her hands trembling as she took Alex's hand. The crowd hushed as they prepared to speak their vows, but Sophia paused, looking into Alex's eyes. "I love you, Alex, and I've realized that love isn't just about passion or promises. It's about trust. You were right to want to protect what's yours, but I want to protect us. I've never doubted you, even when I acted like I did." Her words struck a chord deep inside him. In that moment, Alex saw the vulnerability in her eyes, the same vulnerability that had caused so much friction but was also the source of their bond. With a deep breath, Alex spoke, his voice trembling but steady. "I never wanted to hurt you. I didn't know how to protect what mattered most to me, without pushing you away. But today, I see that protecting each other is what we truly need. This prenup isn't just for me. It's for us, so we can build a future together, no matter what happens." A murmur swept through the guests, and for a brief moment, time stood still. Sophia's tears glistened, but this time, they were not from sadness. She nodded, squeezing Alex's hand, and together, they faced their shared future. The prenup, once a point of contention, was now a symbol of the balance they had finally achieved, a partnership built on trust and respect. As they exchanged their vows, the weight of the document was forgotten. The promise they made to each other transcended the legalities, and their commitment was sealed with more than just ink. It was sealed with their understanding of one another's needs and fears. After the ceremony, as they walked out into the sunlight, hand in hand, Alex could feel the shift in the air. This wasn't just the beginning of their marriage. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one where love and practicality could coexist, and where they truly understood each other, flaws and all. But in the back of his mind, Alex couldn't help but wonder, had they truly turned the page, or was there still something they were yet to face? Only time would tell, but for now, they were together, stronger than ever. So, what do you think? What lesson did you take away from Alex and Sophia's journey? Is it about balancing love and practicality, the importance of trust, or the power of communication in overcoming challenges? If you were in Alex's shoes, would you have insisted on the prenup, or would you have trusted your partner's commitment without hesitation? And Sophia, how would you handle a situation where you felt emotionally torn between love and the need for financial security? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment and share what you've learned and how you would approach a similar situation in your own life. And if you found this story insightful, don't forget to share it with your friends, family, and loved ones. Let's spread the message about the importance of trust, mutual understanding, and respect in relationships. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more stories that challenge and inspire, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in our next story.